This is Buddhist Books Podcast, episode 177, Tipiṭaka, part 108, in which I will recite Bhikkhunivibhaṅga, Pācittiya, 5, 6, and maybe 7. So, for those who've never seen me before, you may wish to click here and start with Tipiṭaka Part 1. Otherwise, what I'm doing is slowly going through the old rules that most people will recommend just skipping or reading the clip notes. So for the first 90-something or 100 of the Tipiṭaka, it was the rules for monks, and then somewhere in the 90s, in Tipiṭaka Part 90s, not in the 1990s, we began the rules for nuns. We did the big rules, the next tier down, and now we're on the next tier down. So these are rules of expiation, but not rules of expiation regarding forfeiture. That was Nisagiya. So that's what's happening here. This is 2,600 years ago, how the Sangha conducted itself as far as what was considered a no-no and how much of a no-no it was. So if that sounds interesting to you, then you've come to the right place, I guess. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next, we've, for the past year, we started this book 1 year ago and then read this second one, and now we're more than halfway through with the third one, and there's 6. So we're going to be reading rules for a couple more years before we get into the teachings, and that will be something else. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started. Does anybody have any questions? I can't hear you, so I wouldn't know. Feel free to post them below. Anyway, Expiation, Pācittiya 5. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying among the Sakyans at Kapilavatu in the Banyan Monastery. Then Mahapajapati, the Gautamid, approached the Lord. Having greeted the Lord, she stood to windward, saying, quote, "Lord, the women smell nasty." End quote. Then the Lord, saying, quote, "Then let the nuns take an ablution with water." End quote. Roused, delighted Mahapajapati the Gautamid with Dhamma talk. Then Mahapajapati the Gautamid, having been roused, delighted with Dhamma talk by the Lord, having greeted the Lord, departed keeping her right side towards him. Then the Lord, on this occasion, in this connection, having given reason to talk, addressed the monks, saying, quote, "I allow monks an ablution with water for the nuns." End quote. Now, at that time, a certain nun saying, quote, "An ablution with water is allowed by the Lord." End quote. Taking a very deep ablution with water, got a sore on her private parts, in case you were wondering what was smelly. Then this nun told this matter to the nuns. Those who were modest nuns, spread it about, saying, quote, "How can this nun take a very deep ablution with water?" End quote. Mixing it up, Miss Horner, keeping them on their toes. Quote, Is it true, as is said, monks, that a nun took a very deep ablution with water? End quote. Quote, "It is true, Lord." End quote. The Enlightened One, the Lord rebuked them, saying, quote, "How, monks, can a nun take a very deep ablution with water? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, end parentheses, pleased, 3 dots. This rule of training. If a nun taking an ablution with water, if a nun is taking an ablution with water, she may take at most, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints. For whatever exceeds this, there is an offense of expiation." End quote. Ablution with water means it is called washing the private parts. Is taking means is washing. She may take at most, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints. Means she may take at most, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 joints of 2 fingers. Right? Somehow, I don't know. For whatever exceeds this means if she, enjoying the contact, even exceeds by even a hair's breadth, there is an offense of expiation. Okay, what if it's more than 2 finger joint widths, but she doesn't enjoy the contact? Sorry. If she thinks that it is more when it is more than, parentheses, a measure of, in parentheses, 2 finger joints, parentheses, and, end parentheses, takes it, there is an offense of expiation. If she is in doubt as to whether it is more than, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints, 3 dots in which she takes it. Sorry. If she thinks that it is less when it is more than, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints, parentheses, and, end parentheses, takes it, there is an offense of expiation. If she thinks that it is more when it is less than, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If she is in doubt as to whether it is less than, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If she thinks that it is less when it is less than, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints, were you paying attention? Did you space out? What's it going to say next? There is no offense. You're right. Never mind. There is no offense if she takes at most, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints. If she takes less than at most, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints. If I just realized if it weren't for the continuous, in parentheses, a measure of, it would say she takes 2 finger joints over and over. That's not what it means. Miss Horner wants to be clear. She's not taking the finger joints. She's taking a finger joint's worth of water. All right. If she takes at most, parentheses, a measure of, end parentheses, 2 finger joints, if it is because of illness, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. Okay. Expiation, Pācittiya 6. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now, at that time, Arohanta, a chief minister, had gone forth among the monks, parentheses, and, end parentheses. His former wife had gone forth among the nuns. Now, at that time, that monk participated in a meal in the presence of that nun. Then that nun enticed that monk, standing near him with drinking water and with a fan as he was eating. Then that monk upbraided that nun, saying, quote, "Do not, sister, do this. It is not allowable." End quote. So these two characters are new. As far as I remember, they haven't been introduced in the Pācittiya. Now, Arohant is being named, and his former wife is not being named. But still, I'd like to think of two characters that we can use to represent both of them. I think we'll go for today with Papa Smurf and Smurfette for these two. So we'll have them here. Why not? Trying to assign an image to help kind of remember each of these characters. Why? For fun. All right. So Papa Smurf is telling his former wife, Smurfette, it is not allowable for you to stand with water fanning me. Quote, formerly you did this and that to me. Now you do not put up with this much. End quote. She is retorting. Did this and that. We can imagine what he did to her. And having thrown down the drinking cup on his head, she struck him with the fan. Nice. Those who were modest nuns, spread it about, saying, quote, how can this nun strike a monk? The wife of Arohanta is the name of that nun. When my paternal grandmother was married to a man named George Ott, but then he died. They were in Moscow at the time, I think. And then she went to Shanghai to meet with her late husband's co-worker. They were in the same line of work, and said co-worker was in Shanghai and was my grandfather, Dan Reed. So when they got married, the wedding certificate said the marriage of Dan Cleveland Reed and Mrs. George Ott. Old times. Old times were different. I think today you get to keep your name, right? At least your first name. Anyway, quote, is it true, as is said, monks, that a nun struck a monk? End quote. Quote, it is true, Lord. End quote. The enlightened one, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, how, monks, can a nun strike a monk? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, end parentheses, yet, parentheses, yet, end parentheses, pleased, 3 dots, this rule of training. Sidebar, I just wanted to make a note that we've read all the rules for monks, and there's no rule that says a monk cannot strike a nun. Now, either this is because it never happened, never came up, and was never an issue, so it just never became a rule, or because apparently maybe that's okay. But, I don't know. It's speculation either way. So, continuing, this rule of training. Whatever nun should stand with drinking water or with a fan close to a monk while he is eating, there is an offense of expiation. Wow, that was a nice twist. Did you catch the twist? I thought there was going to be a rule against a nun striking a monk. No such rule was established. But because she struck a monk because she was standing close to him with a fan and with drinking water. All right. End quote. Interesting. Okay. So no rule that a monk can't hit a nun, and no rule that a nun can't hit a monk yet. All right. Puppy. Going noise pollution. Whatever means 3 dots. Nun means 3 dots. To a monk means to one who is ordained. Is eating any one meal of the 5 parentheses kinds of end parentheses meals. Drinking water means whatever is drinkable. Yeah, it's a different time. Here there's like mineral water and then there's tap water. But back then it was probably something from the river, nothing visible in it. Anyway, if she thinks, fan means whatever is a fan. Awesome. I'd love for that to be the definition of words in the dictionary today. Like cat. Whatever is a cat. Whatever can be called a cat is the definition of a cat. Should stand close means if she stands within a reach of the hand, there is an offense of expiation. All right. If she thinks that he is ordained when he is ordained, parentheses and parentheses, stands close with drinking water or with a fan, there is an offense of expiation. I'm going to guess that when it gets to if he's not ordained, it's a wrongdoing, because why is a nun standing with water and a fan next to anybody? I mean, maybe there's a time and place for that. If she is in doubt as to whether he is ordained, 3 dots. If she thinks that he is not ordained when he is ordained, there is an offense of expiation. If she stands close, having left a reach of a hand, there is an offense of wrongdoing. So if she's a little further away, then it's less of an offense. If she stands close while he is eating solid food, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If she stands close to one who is not ordained, there is an offense of wrongdoing. Called it. If she thinks that he is ordained when he is not ordained, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If she is in doubt as to whether he is not ordained, there is an offense of wrongdoing. If she thinks that he is not ordained when he is not ordained, there is an offense of wrongdoing. Nuns shouldn't be doing that, regardless. There is no offense if she gives. If she causes, parentheses another end, parentheses to give. Okay, what? The curry or water to the monk to drink, or the fan for him to fan himself. Right, okay, so she can come up and be standing next to him with a fan and water, and she's like handing it to him. Not like holding it, waiting, right? Or fanning herself. If she commands one who is not ordained, all right, so if there's like an important monk and he's been on a long journey and it's a hot day, and, please, rest, sir. You, trainee, probationer who hasn't been sworn in as a nun yet, stand next to him with water and a fan. This guy, this is the great whoever, right? If she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer, and we can only imagine what else she's doing at the same time as she's fanning and holding water if she's mad, right? And it's fine, because she's the mad monk. It's Sally. Sally the mad monk. Don't stand so close to me. Just silly stuff. Okay, last but not least for today, I will read the expiation rule for ancient Theravadan Buddhist nuns. Number 7. Pācittiya 7. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, nuns, having had raw grain asked for at harvest time, carried it towards the town. Parentheses those and parentheses at the gateway, saying, quote, ladies, give a portion, end quote, having obstructed, parentheses them, end parentheses, let, end parentheses them, end parentheses, go. Then these nuns, having gone to a dwelling, told this matter to the nuns. Those who were modest nuns, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, how can these nuns have raw grain asked for? End quote, 3 dots, quote, is it true? As is said, monks, this is the Lord Buddha speaking, that the nuns had raw grain asked for. End quote, quote, it is true, Lord, end quote. The Enlightened One, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, how, monks, can nuns have raw grain asked for? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses yet, end parentheses pleased, 3 dots, this rule of training. Whatever nun, having asked for raw grain or having had it asked for, or having roasted it, or having caused it to be roasted, or having pounded it, or having caused it to be pounded. No, that's a different expiation rule. Or having cooked it, or having caused it to be cooked, should eat it, there is an offense of expiation. Whatever means 3 dots. None means 3 dots. Raw grain means rice, paddy, barley, wheat, millet, beans, rye. Raw grain, having asked for means oneself having asked for.
I'm sorry.
If it is to be said, so it is.
Thanks, Greg. Having had asked for means having caused another to ask for it. Having roasted means oneself having roasted. Having caused it to be roasted means having caused another to roast. Having pounded means 3 dots. Having caused to be pounded means 3 dots. You can use your imagination for that one. Miss Horner didn't feel like translating that. All right, sorry. Having cooked means 3 dots. Having caused to be cooked means having caused another to cook. If she says, quote, I will eat it, end quote, parentheses, and parentheses, accepts it, there is an offense of wrongdoing. For every mouthful, there is an offense of expiation. There is no offense if it is because of illness. If she has pulses asked for, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. Pulses is aparana, or vegetables, or prepared cereals. All right, so there's exceptions to the rule. All right, so 5, 6, and 7. You remember? Let's review. 5 was the douche. Fun. 6 was Smurfette and Papa Smurf. And what did she do? She hit him, but she didn't get in trouble for hitting him. She got in trouble for standing next to him with water and a fan. And 7, the one we just read, was having had grain asked for. So, yeah, I mean, we get like top tier, well, not top tier, mid fun, and we had new characters for the second one. So that was fun, kind of interesting. And grain, little boring. Good thing it was coupled with those other 2, though. So if you're still watching, you haven't clicked away. You watched this whole video, and you haven't yet. Please, I would beseech you to do this. That was for the people on YouTube. And for everyone else, thank you for listening. And if you're watching this after I uploaded the video version to Spotify, thank you for watching, perhaps, or watching 40% of it and listening to the other 60. Some people do that. And am I just rambling, or is there anything left to say? Nothing for now. Just wishing you the best, and whatever path you're walking, whatever the nuances of that path, whatever form it takes, and I hope that you are on it, or that you that it leads you to contentment with walking forever toward the horizon. Something nice. I'll go ahead and do the closing prayer. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.